All right, welcome back to Boom Windsurfing. We're down at one of our favourite and local beaches, which is Seacliff Beach on the east side of Edinburgh. End of March, and we've got the sea mist rolling in today, which makes it kind of atmospheric. But today we're looking at 3 boards from the Goya Quattro stable. We're going to do a review of the Goya One 3 Pro 115, the Goya One 3 Pro 95, and also a review of the Quatro Pyramid Pro as well. These are my the other half of Boom Windsurfing's boards, Nick Jupp's boards. He knows them really well, and so we'll get the real insight to these boards. And really interesting as well to get Nick's thoughts on the volume debate. So just some ideas that are going through his head about what kind of volume might be right for him in terms of a full-on wave board. All right, let's get into it. Okay, here we go. So let's get into this. So first of all, we're gonna talk to Nick about the Goya One 3 Pro 115. We're gonna get into that first of all. So hi Nick, how you doing?
How you doing?
All right.
Good.
Right, let's do this. Let's start with the One 3 Pro 115. So first of all, what sort of sail size do you normally sail with on that board?
So on this board, it's definitely my go-to board with a 5.3. I've also sailed it on a 5.9, but I really prefer it with a 5.3. I think it takes the sail easily, but it's more personal preference. I just love sailing it with a 5.3, the maneuverability of the sail, the volume actually, that little bit of extra volume lends itself to learning tricks and things, and with that slightly smaller sail, still get going, but you've got that maneuverability. I love that.
So what's really interesting here is that a lot of people think that 115 free wave board, which is what that is, you're going to sail that with something like a 7-metre sail or a 7.5-metre sail or a 6.5-metre sail. But what you're actually saying is that you'll sail that with a 5.8, 5.9, but you really like sailing a 115 board with, say, a 5.3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could blast around on it on a 6.5 or even a 7 maybe, but yeah, the 5.3 is my favourite. In fact, my new sails, I've got some Goyas coming, and my biggest sail is going to be a 5.5, and that will definitely be a match on this board. I'd use the 5.5 on the smaller board as well, but I think that'll definitely be a really nice match on this board.
And as context then, how heavy are you?
So I'm 86 kilos.
86. So you're 86 kilograms, okay. So you're 86 kilograms and you're in a 115, and this is back to this whole volume debate, which is fascinating, that in actual fact modern board design usually means now you can have a higher volume board that still performs really well but gives you that bit of extra flexibility that you wouldn't otherwise have from a smaller, lower volume board, which we'll come into when we talk about the Quattro in a minute.
Yeah, a good example of that is when we sailed at Thornton Loch, which is further on, down the east coast, and it's Paul will tell you, it's lots of rips, lots of chop, lots of different swell directions. There's waves, there's a reef. It's kind of a chaotic place to sail. And I went out and it was powered up 5.3 weather, and I was on my 115, and I didn't regret that at all because the amount of current there was, the volume just got me up and going. It kept me going and kept me out of trouble. It was fantastic, and I could still ride the waves great.
I was going to say, and I saw you riding the waves really well, and they were half-mast high at times, logo high waves, and you were riding decent waves on this thing. Okay, so take us through the board then. So what have we got in terms of fin setup first of all, and also the options around foot strap placement?
Yeah, so fin setup, it's got a 25 free wave with 11s on the side fins here. Yeah, it feels just right, To be honest, that's what came with the board. I haven't felt the need to tweak that at all. It just feels like it's a nice setup for me.
What I think is interesting with this is, sorry to interrupt you, but the fin positions are fixed. So, Goya have obviously decided to take away any manoeuvrability of fin positioning and said this works, and that's where they go. So there's no adjustment there. Yeah,
which does it's one less thing to think about, but it does work. If it didn't work, it would be horribly frustrating, but it's obviously in the right place, and it also makes it very simple for putting your fins in and out. With this power box type system, you've just got one screw for each fin, and it's a really easy thing to do to put the fins in.
Yeah, so they're all power box. Okay, cool.
foot strap positions, as you've asked about before, I've got them in the inboard position. So yeah, for wave and for freestyle wave position, I wouldn't change that myself. But a lighter rider or someone who really wants to blast on this board could use the outer positions. Maybe have 2 straps at the back. Use the outboard setting here on the front, and maybe put a single fin, block out the side fins, put a more of a free ride fin. You could definitely do that. This board feels great. I mean, it's really quick with the 3 fins, but a 1 fin it'll be really fast.
Yeah, so I guess that's one thing that is interesting about this board. It is a free wave board. I guess that's what Goya call it. But you could you take the thrusters out, stick a free ride fin there, a bigger free ride fin in the back there, put a sort of detuned slalom sail on and blast around on this top speed all over the place with great comfort, which is pretty cool. I've got to say, I had a shot of this board about a week ago. It was pretty marginal conditions. I think it was your 5.3 up, and it was marginal though. Really, really funny wind. And I had a shot on this 115, and I was really blown away by it. How quick it was to accelerate and how easy it was to get planing fast. Really going fast was amazing. So I was really impressed. Okay, cool. And then what's it like to when you're actually getting on the wave with the 115? So therefore, what's it like in terms of turning, and what's it like in terms of its performance? Performance in turning, performance in jibing. What does it feel like underfoot?
It feels great. I mean, especially with these inboard positions, you feel really planted. Yeah, you feel like you can do a bottom turn and go down the line without any difficulty at all. I mean, it's still a very compact shape, so it's got that combination of the sort of fast enough lines, and yet that when you want to turn it and pivot on its tail, it just goes. So Goya's done a great job of that. It really fits the bill of an all-round or a free wave style board.
I guess that's a key thing for me with these boards is, can you take them in waves, and can you actually bottom turn them and top turn them and actually ride some waves with them. And I guess the design is such that you can. It's pretty cool.
Well, it might be one of the clips will show it, but I've ridden this board and the 95 here at Seacliff in a cross-off down the line. Not huge, maybe sort of waist-high waves, and fantastic. Absolutely felt brilliant. It didn't feel like I was hindered by the board in any way.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Right, let's move on to the 95 then. So take us through your thinking about, you bought the 115 Pro. Also, what year is that? Sorry, I should have asked that before.
So these are both 2020-21 boards.
Right. Okay.
So they've just started the next season, haven't they? So they've got a new colour and a new version of this board. But these are they span the 2020-2021.
Okay, so when you were going to buy a 115 and another board to run alongside that, what was your thinking around the 13 Pro 95? Why did you think I'm going to go for exactly it is exactly the same, it's just the lower volume 95 litre? What was your thinking?
So the 95 is definitely my go-to board, for when the conditions turn on. So I think that the 115, when the conditions are a little bit light perhaps, is great, or when you're learning a manoeuvre particularly. But the 95 is just that little bit quicker, that little bit less board under your feet. It's fantastic as a I mean, I've sailed this board right down to 3.7, and I didn't feel overboarded at all. And, on the 4.2 particularly, it feels great.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting though is you went again for the same sort of free wave design that Goya are putting out there for a 95 litre, and it's technically the same shape but just lower volume, and yet you might use that in stronger winds, but also you might use that in bigger waves as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the conditions we sail in is cross shore, wind blown waves, onshore, not a groundswell most of the time, and this board, it's quick, it's easy to get going, it's lovely to sail. So it might not fit in the wave and do those more wave dedicated things well, but it does seem to do the all-round things incredibly well. So for me, I think for using most of the time, this is my ideal quiver.
Okay, and so your 86 litres, your 86 kilograms, it's a 95 litre board. What's the biggest sail you'd put on this 95?
I would be the same as I have sailed it with a 5.9, but I wouldn't do. I would sail it with a 5.3. So once the conditions are more consistent, 5.3, no problem. I could even, I have done so. I'll have both boards on the beach, and I'll swap the boards depending on how the conditions are shaping up. You know,
And okay, and then smallest sail you've sailed with this board?
I've had the 3.7 on it, and it was fine. Yeah, it was great. And the 4.2, I've sailed the 4.2 on it quite a few times, and it's been really good with the 4.2.
And what's the board? I mean, people watching this might be thinking, again, depending upon their weight, what whether they would go for one of these. So when you're sailing this 95 litre board in 4.2 weather, 3.7 weather, what's the board like underfoot? How does it feel? Is it getting bashed around a lot by the wind and waves, or is it fairly controllable, or how does it feel?
To be honest, it feels really controllable. I think the key thing, and one of the reasons I went for this board, it's definitely narrower than a lot of the boards in the same category, the sort of freestyle wave category. So this board is 59.4 is the width. And so the width is slightly narrower than a lot of boards in the same volume category. So and from that you get a lot of stability, along with the overall shape and the clever design.
I think that's interesting though. So 59.4 wide point, and then I would say quite a traditional wave sailing, pintail with a little bit of swallow at the end there. And I guess the 115 is exactly the same. It's just beefed up a bit in terms of size. So again, it's really a very traditional, quite a traditional waveboard design. What's the width on the 115? Should have said that before.
So the 115 is 64.9.
64. Yeah.
But
Okay.
to give you an example on the 95, when I was looking at smaller boards, there's quite a lot of smaller boards in the mid to high 80 litre volume category that are 59. So this board is definitely narrower than most of the average that you get, which I think is what gives it stability, and it really helps in the chop, particularly, I think, which we have a lot of.
Okay, cool. This is good. Right, let's go on to the Quattro then. So this I find this really interesting. So tell us. Let's just break this down a bit. When did you get the Quattro?
So I did a wee film about this. I got it early last year, I believe, during lockdown. I actually was looking for a Custom 3, Goya Custom 3. I couldn't get one anywhere. The Quattro was available, and I actually thought, because it was a thruster, I really thought it was similar, maybe a little bit more wave dedicated to the Custom 3 Goya. I got that a bit wrong, to be honest. This board is so much more dedicated. It's a real, wave machine. That's what.
So do you think, realistically then, do you think what you were looking for was maybe another version of the 1.3 Pro, but just a lower volume? Is that what you were ideally looking for?
No, I think what I do want is a board for those dream days. And then what I mean by a dream day is there's a bit of groundswell, you're in Tyree Island, somewhere like that. It's not very often for us, but it does happen. And it's a board that's going to make more of that. I think that this one will definitely do that, but it sails really small. And I think for my weight, this volume on this board is probably too small in this style of board. I mean, when I've sailed it so far, I've sailed it only 3 times, and it's been 3.7 weather actually, a couple of times. And the board didn't feel like it wanted to go. It was in the sort of cross on shore. There was plenty of wind, but it was definitely like, it wasn't completely happy in those conditions. However, even in the onshore waves, as soon as it got on the wave, on the way in, it came alive. It was like unbelievable. So there's no doubt in my mind that if I get this on the wave down the line, it's going to be amazing.
But that's the thing with these Pyramid Pros. They're renowned for being a very, very good waveboard, a proper waveboard, and more technical to sail as well. So a more technical waveboard, and the design, shows that. I was looking at it earlier when I was up at the Vans, and it looks like a surfboard if you stand above it. It really does. It's like a slightly bigger surfboard. But I mean, yeah. So you felt that as soon as you got it, actually got the board on a wave, you could feel it start to work
immediately. Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything fit. Yeah. The rocker and the rails and the tail shape, everything just is made for that. There's no doubt. What I have done is that it came with an MFC 18 centimeter rear fin setup. I've actually upgraded that. I've put a Leon 20 on the back, and I'm going to see what that feels like. I think it might give it a little bit more oomph, getting up and going, etc. But well, I'll have to wait and see. But there's no doubt in my mind that that this is a very, very dedicated wave machine, and it's made me think. It's made me think that I don't necessarily want a lower volume board than my 95, but I do want a more dedicated waveboard to go alongside it. This is dream stuff. I think these are my two workhorses that I'll use most of the time. But having that more dedicated waveboard is a real luxury.
So where do you go then? So if you think, right, I'm gonna either keep the Pyramid Pro, you might do, well, let's just say you sell it, right? So let's just say you sell it and you get something else. What litre would you go for, and what shape would you go for?
At the moment, and I keep changing my mind because I'm thinking a lot about this. At the moment, I'm edging towards something like a Custom 392, Goya Custom 392, which is, if you like, if this is maybe 3 steps more wavy than a Goya One, then the Custom 3 is only 1 step more wavy. So it's a lot closer, but it is still more wavy. And it would be for those more dedicated wave days. But the volume would be a lot closer to my 95. I don't feel the need that I need a much lower volume board. When you sail a 95, it's obvious to me that you get more advantages than disadvantages. In the old days, not so long ago, when you sailed some of these board sizes that we're sailing now, it was a horrible experience, and that's why I think everybody ended up with boards that were potentially too small for them. So I don't want to get trapped into that. I think maybe that happened a little bit with this board, but I think more than that, it was probably the wrong style board. It was a little bit too far down the dedication line than I really wanted. Okay,
I think that's really interesting, and I hope that gives people food for thought. Again, back to the great volume debate that we did a video on Boom's channel, and lots of chat on Facebook about it as well, which is pretty cool, and sort of lit the fire. I hope that's been interesting for people just to learn a bit more about these boards. I know there's a lot of interest in these boards in general. I know a few people who've got these boards and absolutely love them. And as I say, I was really impressed having a shot at the 115 the other day. So I hope this has been informative and useful, and you've enjoyed being down at the beach with us today, which is pretty cool. The mist rolling in. All right, see you later.